These events raise critical questions about accountability, the independence of key institutions, and the long-term implications for governance in the United States. In this video, we'll unpack these events in detail, examine the legal, historical, and political context, and explore what these moves could mean for the future of American oversight mechanisms. Background on the Federal Reserve and legal authority. To understand the significance of Lisa Cook's firing, it's important to first explore the role of the Federal Reserve and its legal structure. The Federal Reserve, often referred to as the Fed, functions as the central bank of the United States. Its core responsibilities include managing the nation's monetary policy, regulating banks, maintaining financial stability, and providing financial services to the federal government. Importantly, the Fed operates independently from political influence to ensure that economic decisions are guided by data and long-term stability rather than short-term political pressures. Governors of the Federal Reserve, such as Lisa Cook, are appointed for staggered terms, typically lasting 14 years, to insulate them from political interference. This structure is designed to prevent the federal government from unduly influencing interest rates, inflation management, or financial oversight. By firing a sitting governor, Trump's administration triggered concerns about the erosion of this independence. Legal experts have pointed out that the case of Cook v. Trump could establish precedents regarding executive power over federal institutions that are intended to be insulated from political pressure. Lisa Cook and the lawsuit. Lisa Cook, a prominent economist with expertise in economic history and financial regulation, was appointed to the Federal Reserve Board to provide a critical voice in guiding monetary policy. Her sudden firing led to the filing of Cook versus Trump, a lawsuit that argues the removal violated established legal protections for Fed governors. The lawsuit centers on two main points. Improper dismissal. Cook's legal team argues that the firing bypassed standard procedures and contravened statutory safeguards. Under normal circumstances, a Fed governor can only be removed for cause, such as malfeasance or neglect of duty. Cook's case asserts that her dismissal lacked legal justification. Political interference. The case also emphasizes the potential for political motivations to undermine the Fed's decision-making independence. Legal scholars warn that if the executive branch is allowed to remove governors without restriction, it could set a dangerous precedent, making monetary policy vulnerable to political whims. The outcome of this case could redefine the balance of power between the executive branch and independent federal institutions. Some analysts predict that a ruling in favor of Cook would strengthen institutional safeguards, while a ruling in favor of the administration could embolden future political interference in independent agencies. Historical context of federal oversight. This is not the first time a U.S. president has clashed with independent agencies or oversight mechanisms. History provides several examples where the executive branch sought to assert influence over traditionally independent institutions. Andrew Jackson and the Bank of the United States. In the 1830s, Jackson famously vetoed the rechartering of the Second Bank of the United States, effectively asserting political control over financial institutions. Richard Nixon and the Saturday Night Massacre. During the Watergate scandal, Nixon ordered the firing of independent prosecutors investigating the administration, which sparked a constitutional crisis. George W. Bush and Inspectors General controversies. Bush faced criticism for dismissing Inspectors General who clashed with administration policies, highlighting tension between political priorities and oversight. Trump's moves can be viewed within this historical context as part of a broader pattern. Executive efforts to consolidate power often clash with mechanisms designed to ensure transparency, accountability, and independence. The mass firing of Inspectors General. Alongside the legal battle with Lisa Cook, Trump's administration executed a mass dismissal of 17 Inspectors General. Inspectors General serve as watchdogs within federal agencies, tasked with identifying fraud, waste, abuse, and mismanagement. Role of Inspectors General. These officials provide independent oversight, report findings to Congress, and maintain accountability in federal operations. Scope of the dismissals. By removing nearly 20% of federal Inspectors General in a single move, the administration drew criticism from lawmakers across the political spectrum. Critics argued that such actions could weaken federal oversight, reduce transparency, and limit the ability of Congress to monitor executive actions. The mass firing raises significant questions. Was this an attempt to eliminate dissenting voices, or was it part of routine administrative turnover? Legal scholars argue that while presidents technically have the authority to remove Inspectors General, the timing, scope, and lack of clear justification suggest political motivations. Implications for governance and oversight. The combined effect of firing a Federal Reserve governor and multiple Inspectors General has broad implications. Institutional independence at risk. By undermining established protections, these actions could create a precedent where oversight bodies operate under the shadow of executive power rather than impartial judgment. Erosion of public trust. Citizens rely on independent institutions to ensure fairness and accountability. Actions that appear politically motivated may diminish trust in government. Legal precedents. Cook. Trump and potential challenges regarding Inspectors General dismissals could clarify or weaken legal protections designed to prevent executive overreach. Experts warn that if political leaders can remove key figures without cause, oversight mechanisms may lose their effectiveness, creating an environment where transparency and accountability are compromised. Political analysis. From a political standpoint, Trump's moves can be interpreted as part of a broader strategy to consolidate power and limit institutional resistance. Analysts suggest several motivations. Control over economic messaging. Removing Fed governors may allow a president to influence narratives about economic performance or monetary policy. Limiting oversight. During controversial policies, dismissing Inspectors General may prevent scrutiny of policy decisions, financial allocations, or administrative misconduct. Political signaling. Such actions can signal to supporters a commitment to draining the swamp or confronting entrenched bureaucratic structures, appealing to populist sentiments. However, this strategy carries risks. Political overreach may provoke legal challenges, congressional pushback, and long-term damage to the credibility of both the executive branch and federal institutions. Potential outcomes and future scenarios. Looking ahead, several outcomes are possible. Legal vindication of Lisa Cook. A ruling in favor of Cook could reinforce the independence of the Federal Reserve and limit the ability of future presidents to remove governors without cause. Legal support for executive authority. If the administration prevails, it could expand the president's ability to exert influence over independent agencies, setting a new precedent. Congressional response. Congress may introduce legislation to strengthen oversight protections, particularly for inspectors general and Fed governors. Public reaction and political consequences. Public perception of executive overreach could influence elections, public trust, and the broader political landscape. These outcomes will shape not only the immediate political environment, but also the long-term balance between executive power and institutional independence in the United States. Broader implications for democracy. The debate over federal oversight touches on fundamental principles of American democracy. Independent institutions act as safeguards against abuse of power, protect minority interests, and ensure that policy decisions are based on evidence rather than political expediency. When political leaders challenge these institutions, it raises concerns about the concentration of power in the executive branch. It invites debates about checks and balances in a polarized political environment. It tests the resilience of legal and constitutional mechanisms designed to protect democratic norms. Scholars argue that maintaining a balance between executive authority and institutional independence is critical for democratic stability. Trump's recent actions illustrate the fragility of this balance when political priorities clash with legal and institutional safeguards. Expert opinions and commentary. Legal sound scholars, former Fed officials, and political analysts have offered a range of perspectives. Some warn that unchecked executive power could undermine the credibility of the Federal Reserve, affecting not just domestic but global financial stability. Others highlight the importance of accountability, suggesting that oversight mechanisms must evolve to address new political realities. Political strategists note that these moves may strengthen Trump's base while simultaneously provoking bipartisan concern over executive overreach. These expert perspectives illustrate the complexity of the issue. Balancing political leadership with institutional integrity remains a contentious and evolving challenge. Conclusion: the path forward. The legal battles and mass dismissals initiated by Trump's administration are more than isolated events. They are part of an ongoing tension between executive ambition and institutional independence. As the Cook versus Trump case progresses, and as Congress evaluates the implications of Inspector General dismissals, the nation will be watching closely. These events may redefine the boundaries of presidential power, reshape oversight mechanisms, and influence public trust in federal institutions for years to come. Ultimately, the question remains: can independent institutions maintain their integrity in the face of political pressure, or will executive ambition redefine the limits of oversight and accountability in the United States? Only time and the courts will provide an answer.